Welcome to Greensboro Beautiful's Parisian Promenade, the home edition. My name is John Wagner and I serve on the board of directors for Greensboro Beautiful. This is my wife, Ashley. Ashley and I volunteer for a number of Greensboro Beautiful projects.
We're filming from the beautiful Tanger Family Bicentennial Garden, where Greensboro Beautiful has presented this event for many years. But this year, like so many events everywhere, it was necessary to cancel the Parisian Promenade in order to adhere to the governor's guidelines prohibiting large public gatherings due to COVID-19 virus.
So we put our heads together to plan a virtual event which would showcase the garden, feature a few of our excellent artists and wonderful performers, provide a way for you to participate in an online garden quest, and we'll even have a virtual poodle parade. All this will be shared with you in 4 30-minute videos each Sunday in June at 2 p.m. We invite you to join in and share your comments. And if you like what you see, please use the link at the bottom of your screen to show your support.
Now, during today's episode, we'll answer 3 questions listed on this week's Garden Quest, our virtual scavenger hunt. And you can go to our website at greensborobeautiful.org, click on the Garden Quest link provided for a list of questions. You can submit your answer at the end of today's episode.
In today's episode, we want to tell you about the vibrant history of this area and this garden. In 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial celebration, Greensboro Beautiful began a project to develop a public garden. And by October that year, it was dedicated as Bicentennial Garden. This particular site was selected due to the rich history of the area dating back to the 1700s. David Caldwell, a Presbyterian minister, self-trained physician, and an early educator in colonial North Carolina, was the founder of the Log College, which educated many prominent men of the day. Bicentennial Garden is part of the portion of land on which the Academy, its campus, and the Caldwell homestead once stood.
For many years, the focal point of the garden was a life-size bronze sculpture entitled The Student, which is symbolic of a typical student who would have attended the Log College. Over the years, the garden has been expanded by adding paths, benches, sculptures, and several specialized areas have all been developed, all made possible with generous donations to Greensboro Beautiful.
In 1995, Greensboro Beautiful commissioned a plan to guide future garden enhancements, which included a new main entrance, a wedding garden and gazebo, a sensory garden and woodland water feature, stone wall and raised beds, additional sculpture, expanded visitor parking and public restrooms, and plans for a mill site to be developed within the adjacent David Caldwell Historic Park. Greensboro Beautiful completed most of these enhancements in 1999, with the old mill being completed in 2017.
The Interpretive Center at David Caldwell Historic Park was completed in 2007. It educates visitors about David and Rachel Caldwell, the Log College, and David Caldwell's contributions to our state and to our region. This facility was made possible by a generous bequest to Greensboro Beautiful. In 2006, Stanley and Doris Tanger made a significant financial commitment for ongoing support of Greensboro's public gardens. And with the approval of the Greensboro Parks and Recreation Commission, the garden was renamed the Tanger Family Bicentennial Garden.
Greensboro Beautiful continues to support and enhance the garden as part of its partnership with Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department. Here to talk about the public-private partnership, as well as the funding and volunteer support which Greensboro Beautiful provides, is Dan Smith, Chair of Greensboro Beautiful, and Lee Britt, Chair of Greensboro Beautiful Public Gardens Committee.
So Greensboro Beautiful is happy to host a virtual Parisian Promenade, and if you were here with me in the gardens, I could tell you that Greensboro Beautiful has existed in the city since 1968. We've partnered with the City of Greensboro. It's a public-private partnership that allows our nonprofit organization of volunteers to take donations from folks throughout the city, businesses, individuals, and not only improve Tanger Bicentennial Garden, that is where we're filming this event, but the 3 other public gardens. We've got the Bog Garden across the street, Arboretum, and of course Gateway Gardens, our newest garden. And what Greensboro Beautiful has done over the past 52 years is to plan, to design, and to improve our public gardens. But we've also done much more than that through the support of our donors. We've had for a long time 2 annual and now 3 annual litter cleanups. We sponsor the Memorial and Honor Tree program, so help the city and residents within it who want to honor someone or remember a lost one to plant a tree in the city and know where it is, and to support that, you know, long-term gift to our green environment and our tree canopy. We also have an urban forestry program that not only does the Memorial and Honor trees, but does the Neighborhoods community planting program, where we plant hundreds of trees in a particular neighborhood that's committed to keeping those trees alive. So most recently in Kings Forest Park and the surrounding neighborhood, an area particularly targeted or hurt by the tornadoes in April of, I guess, 2018, that's where our most recent tree planting has been. But we've also had them in Sunset Hills neighborhood and the Warnersville community, just to name a few. So we have the tree plantings, the litter cleanups, the public garden improvements, and of course, the garden events. This year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're bringing it to you virtually, but we always have in April, or barring a virus, we have Groovin' in the Gardens to celebrate Gateway. We have Parisian Promenade here in the Bicentennial, the Tanger Family Bicentennial Garden. And then we have Arts in the Arboretum, which is usually hosted in October, and we hope to bring that to you in October of this year. So those are the things that our partnership with the city allows us to do. And really, ultimately, the heart of that partnership is the ability to take volunteer hours, whether it's my time or any of our other members of the board of directors or any of the other volunteers at any of our events, to take that time, that free time, if you will, to generate weeds being pulled out of the garden, litter being picked up off our streets, trees being planted, so that we always have a beautiful green canopy around us. But more than that, that volunteer time, or maybe if you want to bring it into terms of dollars and cents, that volunteer time allows us to go out into the community and to generate the funds to help pay for the costs that can't be paid for just with time. So to get the money in for the materials for the old mill, for the wedding gazebo, for any of the other plantings, for replacements. You know, recently in the past year, the butterfly bridge in the Arboretum has been repainted, the heart chimes have been refurbished, there's a new shed in Gateway Gardens, new very artistic, you know, kind of sunflower inspired benches in Gateway Gardens. There's invasive removal and native planting going on in the Bog Garden. All of that happens not just because of the volunteers, but because of donors. And whether it's $2, $20, or a $20,000 corporate donation, the partnership between the City of Greensboro and our volunteer nonprofit organization allows those dollars to go immediately into the gardens, into keeping our city green and well planted, and without having to pay for a staff, without having to worry about all those backroom functions. Every donation we receive goes straight out into making an impact in the community, to making and keeping Greensboro more beautiful. So ultimately, I think what I'm here to say through all of that is thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for your support of Greensboro Beautiful, whether that support has come in the terms of a donation or in terms of volunteer time, or even just coming out and enjoying our gardens at an event like Parisian Promenade, or just as a way to get some exercise and enjoy some time outside your house. So thank you, Greensboro, thank you, City of Greensboro, and thank you to all our partners for making everything we do possible.
I want to give you the basic dirt of the situation. That's like the blood, sweat, and tears that go on behind the scenes in the garden. So what's going on in the gardens and how do they happen? Two very fundamental parts of the success of our gardens is, of course, the organizational part and the partnership with the city, and, of course, the community funding. The third part of that very important triangle is, of course, volunteers. Greensboro Beautiful recruits volunteers. We do it with a vengeance. We love it. We always have volunteer landscape designers, landscape architects who donate their time to create design plans and that kind of thing for our gardens. And then, of course, Greensboro Beautiful finds the funding for that. And along comes our big crew of curators. What are curators? What do curators do? Well, a curator curates a collection. That means they lead the charge. They figure out what a collection needs and how to get there. They bring in other volunteers to help, and the volunteers will often wear Greensboro Beautiful t-shirts, so you might see them in the garden with their tools or their t-shirts. We also account for our volunteer hours with the city. That's a very important element as well. Now, each curator really is a specialist in their chosen area. They usually have experience there, expertise. For instance, here at Tanger Family Bicentennial, Fred Bender and Will Farrell lead a group that is over at the Camellia and Azalea collection. They dig, weed, install, cut back, all sorts of tasks that need to be done. That means that they bring along the group of volunteers from the local Camellia volunteer group as well. That's a community-based group. So we have all kinds of expertise in the garden. Another example here at Tanger is the daylily collection, the Lillian Livingston Daylily collection. That's led by Lynn Broderius Roberts, and she brings in a whole group of professionals practically from the local Daylily Society. They even bring in cultivars that maybe the public hasn't seen yet, cultivars that might be on display later to the public and available. So those kinds of things happen. Basically, Greensboro Beautiful really does have a lot of volunteers. And the volunteers are so vital to all the success of our gardens. They're supported by the city staff, and volunteers and staff work together constantly, bringing their minds together. Now, some of the best and most fun in the gardens happens right here, on a day like this, just like this. Where else would you want to be?
Thank you, Dan and Lee. As a small business owner, I can tell you that the benefits of this partnership have helped make Greensboro the beautiful and wonderful place it is to live, work, play, and to visit. We're now going to take a musical break and treat you to a performance by the local group, the Radials.
If you're standing outside, come on in.
You know, it just wouldn't be Paris without artists. Our first artist today specializes in reclaiming fence wood to create her canvases. Ashlee Mortensen will join us now to tell us about her unique and beautiful work. If you'd like to contact her, use the link at the bottom of your screen.
Hi, my name is Ashlee Mortensen. I am Ashlee Mortensen Art. I do pastel paintings on reclaimed wood. I started back in 2015 when I came home one day after work and my husband had written, "I love you," and drawn this beautiful heart on the fence with some chalk. And I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. So we started doing murals together and quickly discovered that we needed more colors. I had some leftover pastels, and so I started doing murals on the fence with the old pastels, and there was this one drawing that I did. My husband loved it so much that he cut it out of the fence. We had to replace that part. And he's like, listen, if you want to continue doing this, you've got to start working on other people's fence. This being pastel reclaimed wood, what I do is I get fence from people, I clean it up, which takes all the patina off of it. Then I use tea and iron vinegar, which is white vinegar and steel wool soaked together for 3 days. Restain the wood, then I assemble it into a canvas, put gesso on it, and then I do the painting. I'll put a pastel under painting and melt the pastel into the wood using rubbing alcohol. And then I'll put pastel layers on top of it, and then I spray it 5 or 6 times with a fixative to help seal the pastel onto the wood. So it's really quite durable. Pastel is basically the same pigment that makes up paint. It's just been compressed into a stick rather than suspended in a medium like oil or acrylic. And so when you draw, it deposits the pigment onto the wood, and then the rubbing alcohol just melts the pastel into the wood. And you can actually see some of the underpainting, for example, on this one here, where it's like got a very purple underbase, and then just some light purple and white on top of that.
What about these over here?
These are all greeting cards. They're 5 by 7. People kept asking me, I would love to have greeting cards, and I said, okay, sure. So I had some made up by the Printery, a local print company here in Greensboro, and they just did a magnificent job. They're made on super heavy cardstock. They come with envelopes and little plastic envelopes, so it's very portable. People love them, and these are all past paintings.
Are these for sale on your website? Or?
Absolutely. Everything is on Instagram. That's a complete portfolio of all of my work. I'm also at Ashlee Mortensen Art on Facebook. I do have a website, ashleemortensen.com, but I would really recommend people going to the Instagram site because it's just a lot easier. Usually people will message me and say, hey, I want this or I want that, and we just arrange something and I mail it to them, and that's how it's done.
Thank you, Ashlee. Next, we'll be showcasing the old mill, which is reminiscent of the grist mill that David Caldwell operated on this site in the 1780s. This beautiful feature was made possible by private donations to Greensboro Beautiful and features a freestanding water wheel that is powered by a recirculating stream. Greensboro Beautiful Gary Brown was instrumental in developing this project and overseeing the construction of the mill and the mill pond. Gary is exceptionally knowledgeable about the history of David and Rachel Caldwell, whose homestead and log college for men was on this property during their time. Gary is joining us today to talk about this wonderful addition to the garden.
Well, welcome to David Caldwell's mill replica. This is a project that started in the mid-90s. We had built the interpretive center, which is up the hill. David Caldwell had had a small mill on his property here on North Buffalo Creek, which is over here. His mill was actually about halfway between here and Hobbs Road and on the other side of the creek. We have found some of the remnants of support structures on the other side of the creek through archaeological investigations and so forth. Stan Tanger had really wanted to have a replica of David Caldwell's mill built after we had built the interpretive center up the hill. In 1995, we actually commissioned full plans. The project went through periodic discussions with Public Gardens Committee and Greensboro Beautiful and so forth. In 2009, I believe, the project kind of got put on the shelf due to budget constraints and the recession. About 5 years ago, it was reactivated. I built a scale model to show what my vision of the old mill would be, and that model was approved by Greensboro Beautiful. We put together a budget, which they approved. I took the model to the city and to draftsmen to draw plans for it, and what we have today is the result of that project. This mill building was built, or this replica was built very much the way a mill would have been built in the 1780s. And for the most part, two men who are excellent historical craftsmen built the entire building for us. It's all very much done the same way as it would have been done back then. The mill wheel is outside. Typically, mills of the day, typically mills of the day would have been 3 stories. The farmer would bring his wagon with the grain, whether it be corn or oats or wheat or whatever, into the first floor down below where we are and dump it in the hopper. And then this grain elevator, which is a continuous belt with little cups here, feeds out of the hopper and takes the grain to the 3rd floor for going through a cleaning and sizing process and so forth. Once it is ready to be ground, it comes down the grain chute. There's a little door here that can be adjusted, closed or open to allow the grain to come down. It goes into the hopper, and we have a piece here that allows it to be distributed at different speeds through a hole in the top millstone. Millstone, typically there's a bottom millstone, and then the top one, which is the runner stone. The bottom stone is stationary. The runner stone has a hole in it, and the grain feeds down through and then disperses between the 2 stones, which the top one is rotating with a scissors action, and as it grinds the grain, it moves to the outside, drops off the side, eventually goes down a chute to the first floor where it's bagged, sized, and so forth.
Thank you, Gary. Our next artist, Bill Gramley, participates in the Parisian Promenade every year. He works with chalk pastels to create beautiful trees, flowers, landscapes, and fruit. Bill is joining us to talk about his work, and if you'd like to contact him, please use the email address at the bottom of your screen.
I don't like to say too much, but I am Bill Gramley. So I live over in Louisville, North Carolina, and I'm 84 years old, and I just like to keep going, staying active, being creative. I like to write, I like to draw, I like to read and so forth, and exercise. I do sports, but that's who I am. And now teach pastels at Sawtooth and Winston sometimes, and do some with the homeless and cancer patients, so I keep busy. I just want to thank Greensboro Beautiful for allowing us to be here today. It's the end of May, but the show would usually be the first Sunday in June, and I've been coming to it for a number of years And I really do miss the people coming by and their dogs, which are always fascinating. So they do a great job of getting people out for this and the Art on the Arboretum in October. Well, anyway, I got started in doing what are called soft pastel, chalk pastels, in the 1990s. And I had a death, and so I was feeling sad. So this was kind of therapeutic, and somebody said, well, why don't you try to sell them? I said, I hadn't thought about that. But I really went up to Roanoke in 1996, and that was my first show. So what I've been doing is going out to street festivals a lot over the years. And I like people to put their hands on, see what they like, and then I get to meet people that way. Well, let me say about what I do, how I do it. I learned to do dark paper to start with. For example, this seascape, I use this blue paper, indigo blue, for most of my paintings or drawings. The reason is that I get a nice contrast when I put the other colors on the dark background. So I use blue paper for almost everything, except the pears. The people that know me know I do a lot of pear pictures, and there I use the black paper, again, for the contrast. So that's my style. It's just the way I chose to do it. Nothing right or wrong about it. And what I like to do are what you say is nature. I started with autumn trees. This was from a photo I took in my neighborhood in Ardmore and Winston-Salem years ago. And I just love the way the sun hit the leaves, the brightness, try to copy that, it's hard to do. But then I like the blue skies of October and the contrast of the red and yellows against the sky. So those are two that I like to do. Then in the winter I see the silhouette of the sunset, no leaves on the trees, just the tall trees, and then I put the colorful sky, and then I do the tree trunks as contrast. So it makes for a nice colorful scene in the winter. I also do a lot of little pictures, what I call minis, because a lot of people want to buy this. These are for $20, but they're all originals, something you put on your desk or at your office or at home. So I do flowers like tulips and snow scene in winter, a red barn in the snow. And one was kind of different. This one I did up in the Blue Ridge Mountains up at our camp back a couple months ago. A friend of mine got up, and I did too. He had a camera, and he took a photo of the sun coming up over the mountains. So I looked at when he put it on my computer screen. I said, well, I'll try to draw that. And so that's what came out, the brightness of the sun here, hitting the clouds above it, and the dark sky with the reds in it too. So it ends up kind of abstract, but that's okay. I kind of like it, kind of bright and vivid. So anyway, if anyone wants my art, Evan's going to put it on, give you my email address. You know, I still live in the 19th century, so I'm not into this other electronic communications, which I enjoy. But so if you're interested, please contact me by my email. And thank you so much I miss you. Those of you who've been here before, I miss seeing you. Even though you don't have to buy something, I love seeing you when you come by. And so there are not too many artists that go out like Ashlee or me and some others to sell our art, but I think it's a good way to do it.
Thank you, Bill. Before we go, we want to tell you how you can participate in the Virtual Poodle Parade. Visit our website at greensborobeautiful.org, click on the Parisian Promenade Home Edition link, and then click on the link to the Poodle Parade entry form. As part of the final episode on June 28th, we'll feature a photo lineup of all the entries. Your pet doesn't have to be a poodle to enter this year. And this year only, you can enter any pet, no matter what type of animal it is. After the episode has aired, we'll have a drawing from all of the entries received, and the winner will receive a gift basket donated by All Pets Considered.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Parisian Promenade, the Home Edition, brought to you by Greensboro Beautiful. You can show your support by using the link at the bottom of the screen. Greensboro Beautiful makes this event possible each year with private donations from the community. Donations from people like you help us bring these events to our community, as well as tree plantings, litter cleanups, and continued enhancements to Greensboro's 4 public gardens. Donations in any amount are appreciated.
We'd also like to offer a special thanks to the Greensboro Regional Realtors Association for funding support of this event, to 88.5 WFDD for providing promotional support, to All Pets Considered for donating a gift basket to our Virtual Poodle Parade, and to the City of Greensboro for being a part of this wonderful and unique partnership for the last 50 years.
Be sure to join us for our next episode of Parisian Promenade, the Home Edition, next Sunday, June 14th at 2 p.m., when we showcase the Mangum Memorial Garden and Camberley's Garden. We'll also have a musical guest, artists Shauna Ireland and Nancy Say, and we'll have more answers for the Garden Quest virtual scavenger hunt. See you next time.